Students, now I want to cover the activity packet sheet titled Staves 1 through 5 Character Log. Now, this is found under the topic of A Christmas Carol. So let me open this document. Character log was one of your vocab words from last week. As we discussed character log last week, you learned that keeping a character log on a specific character will help you to track the details of that character, help you to better understand that character so that you can analyze and evaluate the character, his actions, words, okay, and everything about that character. So this week we're going to begin the character log sheet. This week we're going to do staves 1 and 2 only. And then next week we're going to do staves 3, 4, and 5. Your character log sheet is not due until December the 18th. Now listen, keep this in mind. This is due on a Friday. Most of your assignments are always due on Sunday, but I have made this one due on Friday. So do not procrastinate. Turn it in on Friday. Let's open the document now and see what you should do with it. Okay, in this character log, I want you to pay attention in the staves that you have read and that you are going to continue reading. Pay attention to the actual words that the character Scrooge says. Pay attention to the actions that Scrooge does, and then pay attention to what other people in the novella are saying about the character of Scrooge. So you're going to keep a character log on Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge, and I am expecting you to have entries for each of the 5 staves. Now, you should have a minimum of 4 log entries per stave. I have done the first one for you, and there's a couple of things that I want you to notice. I labeled it S1, and then I put a dash, and then I put the quote. Now the S1 stands for stave 1. So I want you to indicate every textual evidence by stave 1, stave 2, so on and so forth, okay? At the end of the quote, the textual evidence, in parentheses, I put the page number where this evidence was found. I expect you to do the same. Something else I want to point out very quickly before we get into this. I took this text from the actual hard copy of my novel, A Christmas Carol. So the page number may not match with the PDF form of the text that I have provided for you. However, I will allow you to use this first example that I made as your first entry. So you're supposed to have 4 entries for stave 1. I've done 1 entry for you. So you have at least 3 entries left for stave 1. Let's read this entry together. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye, upon his clerk. And this was found on page 13 of my book. Okay, this quote, one of the first things I want you to notice is that I have 3 periods following the word quote. That means that I did not include the whole entire sentence. And when I put 3 periods and then close the quote marks, that indicates that there is still part of the sentence to follow. I just did not include it in this textual evidence because I did not need it for the meaning and the interpretation of this particular text. Now, I want to tell you something very, very important as you are digging into the staves to pull out textual evidence. In January, we're going to use this particular document along with some of our others that we're going to be working on this week and next week. But this one is going to be especially valuable to you in January because we are going to write an essay regarding the character of Scrooge, and this is going to provide your textual evidence. The essay that you write in January is worth 220 points. That essay is going to be your final exam for the end of this 9-week unit study. Okay, so you will want to collect valid evidence that is very strong and powerful in describing the character of who Scrooge really is inside and out. Okay, so as we look at this first piece of evidence, it indicates to us that now the counting house was his place of business, and he was in his office, and his worker was in the other office. And Scrooge kept his office door open so that he could see into the office where his worker was working. He wanted to make sure that his worker was truly working. This indicates to us that he does not trust other people. He doesn't trust his worker enough to leave him alone and let him do his work. He is particularly untrustworthy when it comes to his own money or his time is concerned. Okay. In Scrooge's mind, he thinks that if my worker takes a 10-minute break, then I am not required to pay him for that 10 minutes where he takes a break. So I can deduct that portion from his weekly salary and not have to pay him for that. That is the mind of a very selfish and greedy person, a very self-absorbed person, a person who doesn't trust other people enough to close the door and let them do their work. Scrooge also is demonstrating by this particular action that he has no respect for his employee, for the fact that his employee could probably work better if he wasn't being watched like an eagle. And if he doesn't have respect for his employee, he probably doesn't have any respect for other people as well. Okay, so this particular statement says a great deal about the character of Scrooge. So as you are digging into each stave, and remember staves 1 and 2 need to be completed this week. You do not submit this assignment until December the 18th when all 5 staves are completed. But I would not wait until next week to do this on all of the staves. So complete staves 1 and 2 today or this week. And when you're digging into each of the staves, finding textual evidence, you want to find some really solid evidence that is going to verify some true characteristics of Scrooge, because you're going to have to write an essay and explain in your essay the character of Scrooge. And remember, this essay is a big chunk of your end of 9 weeks grade, which will also be the end of your semester grade. Okay, so do your best. Oh, someone asked in class this morning if they found more than 4, could they include more than 4 pieces of evidence from each stave? Absolutely, because you want your paper to be as strong as possible. I wouldn't gather like 10 for each stave, but I would have a well-rounded amount of textual evidence that can back up and support the statements that you are going to claim about the character of Scrooge. Okay, so email me if you have any questions, and remember, staves 1 through 5 must be completed by December the 18th.